Well, I started off with a trading company which was selling tires. And this came from a background where I had been employed by Goodyear International. And I was their manager in Malawi, overseeing the distribution of Goodyear tires in Malawi. The greatest achievement was just setting up a business itself, because it's always a lot more difficult to start. It's a lot easier when everything is established and then you move on from there. But to establish a business is not easy, especially in an economy like Malawi where access to finance is a big problem. So to establish a business and see it grow is, to me, a very great achievement, the starting of it. Secondly, I always wanted to establish a business that would outlive me. In other words, when I'm dead and gone, the legacy must remain. And I think we have achieved that through our investments. This building will not die because I am dead. It will still be here. The various other commercial properties, Mpatsa lodges, and even the companies themselves. So to set up companies that will survive even after you are gone, I think that in itself is a very great achievement for me. Those are the two that I would call very remarkable, but maybe to a lesser extent, also the fact that we are able to create jobs. And at our peak, we employ no less than 1,000 people within the Mpatsa group. To me, that is something that gives me a lot of pleasure today when I look at the Mpatsa setup. The challenges never stop, but I also comfort myself to say the fact that there are challenges, maybe that's why I'm where I am and others are not there. Because without those challenges, if it was easy selling, perhaps everybody would be an entrepreneur, and where would your market be, the market for your products? So yeah, the challenges we face are numerous. Initially, the biggest challenges that we faced was access to finance. And that is still a problem even today. Yes, it's to a lesser extent because now that we are well established, we find banks are queuing up to see us, to offer us their products. But at the outset, it was not as such. It was always very, very difficult, most especially when you don't have security. Because, you know, in Malawi, if you want to borrow 5 kwacha, you need to provide security for 10 kwacha. And the question I always used to ask the banks was, why would I be borrowing 5 kwacha if I've got 10 kwacha security? I would say there are several issues, or several pieces of advice that I could give. Number one is you must understand the product that you are offering. Very often businesses fail because not enough research was done in terms of the market for the product. And I can cite you a few examples. We ourselves have burnt our fingers a number of times because of not carrying out thorough research. In a certain year, when we had just entered the agriculture sector, we were persuaded to grow soya beans because at that time the price was somewhere in the region of 150 kwacha a kilo. So without carrying thorough research, we grew soya beans at our farms. By the time we were harvesting, the price had collapsed to something like 80 kwacha. And yet our projections had been based on a price of 120 kwacha. The reason the prices collapsed was because there was a government intervention. They banned the export of soya beans. So because there was that ban, the prices collapsed. Had we done thorough research, we would have realized that that risk was there of government stepping in and, at times banning the exports of particular products. And perhaps our projections would not have been what they were, and maybe we could have opted for something else. So thorough knowledge of the product that you are producing and its market is very important. Secondly, again, you must understand the competition. Who are your competitors? And what are your comparative advantages? Because it's one thing to offer a product, but you must understand what the advantages, your advantages are